Godspeed welcomes you to the mile-and-a-half Charlotte Motor Speedway for a 1-hour, 20-minute NASCAR Nationwide Series practice. It is a warm, early summer afternoon. Temperatures expected to top out at 91 degrees here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And hi, everybody. Glad you're back with us. The NASCAR Nationwide Series team's back in action. And Hermie, interesting schedule for these guys. 2 practices today. Track is dark tomorrow. They qualify Saturday morning and race Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's the first thing you look at is how interesting the schedule is this weekend for these guys. On the racetrack right now, this is about the time on Saturday they'll be taking the green flag. For the last several years, it's been a night race. Then we got a little bit of a break, come back on the racetrack again at 5:30, a little bit closer to maybe what we'll see in qualifying, Jeff. So these crew chiefs and drivers have got to figure out when they need to be dialing their cars in for the race and when they need to be dialing the car in for qualifying.
Well, the good thing about it, though, guys, we have a pretty good-sized break in between these 2 practice sessions. A lot of time for the guys to switch it over to get ready to make qualifying runs. But, Steve, Hermie and I were talking before we came on the air. Big advantage you've got to believe to the guys who raced the All-Star race here last year. They're running the same tire that the Cup guys had an opportunity to see last week, so they got some kind of anticipation. So I look for guys like Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, even our point leader Brad Keselowski to be some of the fastest guys, even out there in race setup right now. They should be the guys you got to watch at least early on.
Well, race cars on the track, and we go down to the garage area and catch up with Matt Yoakum.
Steve, the month of May is special for just about every racing fan with all that goes on up in Indiana and down here in North Carolina, especially if you're a car owner. The captain, Roger Penske, scored the pole up at Indy and started out the month of May here in Charlotte with a win in the All-Star race. Now Brad Keselowski is hoping to keep that winning momentum alive, and this is going to be a great session for Brad and his team because they've been working on their intermediate track program in the Nationwide Series. One area he felt like they could stand to improve a little bit. He feels like they have. He can't wait to get out on the racetrack to see. To Bob Dillner.
Well, Matt, it may be hot here in the garage area and on track at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, but it's the right time to practice because this practice session will be about the same time that they will race on Saturday here for the Nationwide Series. Kevin Harvick says a hot racetrack means a lot of guesswork. They got the Mayo Miracle Whip. They're hoping to whip up the competition, but Kevin Harvick hasn't done that in about 7 years here at Charlotte. He's a 3-time winner at this racetrack, but talking to his team, it's one that has puzzled him in recent years. He's hoping for a very fast race car on a very hot racetrack today and Saturday for Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, Bob, thanks a lot there. And when Bob's talking about how hot this racetrack was, or is, I was down in the garage area just prior to coming up the booth, guys. 143 degrees according to Patrick Perrin. He had his little heat gun out there checking asphalt temperature. It is extremely warm. And Hermie, you know from driving here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, this place is very temperamental. And, man, when it gets hot, it gets slick, it gets tricky.
And you're right. It can fool you, too, because, you know, conventional thinking would lead you to believe when the track cools down, it gets tighter. But sometimes the track even gets looser. But the number one problem today, we're going to hear it a lot, Steve, is grip. These guys are going to need some grip, especially look at that sun beating down in the middle of turns 3 and 4 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So these guys will try to find that balance of getting the car to turn good in the center of the corner, but not freeing it up too much on entry. This racetrack, you want a wide, late arc into the corner to carry that momentum. We'll see who can find that right combination to get the speed they want.
22-year-old Steve Wallace there in the 66 comes to Charlotte Motor Speedway, 13th in points. I'm curious, Jeff, Hermie, about the number of laps that we'll see these guys put on the racetrack in this 1-hour, 20-minute practice. Certainly, you know, there's a tire situation. NASCAR is trying to obviously hold the cost down. So how do you ration out your laps?
Well, from a driver perspective, and I'll get Jeff to weigh in on the crew chief side, I think it depends on how the car feels. If I go on the racetrack, if Jeff's my crew chief, and if I go on the racetrack, Jeff's probably going to tell me, Hermie, if it feels good, go ahead and get you 8 or 10 laps in here, get a good tire sheet, and see where the balance is. But if it's not comfortable, Jeff, I got to bring it back to you.
Yeah, you can't mess around because of the fact you're restricted with tires. We'll take a look at the one car now being driven this week by Ryan Newman. You have to take each thing into consideration, Steve, and that's going to be the big challenge for these guys. And I think he's exactly dead on. If the car's good off the truck, try a couple things, but don't use up your tires and don't start chasing the racetrack if it is good. Try to keep everything kind of like in perspective. All the homework's been done at the shop. Realize these guys had last weekend off, had an opportunity to kind of go back and start thinking about, again, what they want to bring over here. Plus, if you've got a guy like Ryan Newman behind the wheel who's over here racing from a week ago, he can give you a lot of great input that might help you do some simulations to make that car even better right off the truck. And, you know, for Ryan, currently, he's 4th quickest in that one car. He's run 4 laps already. Looks like he's going to bring it back down to the garage area and see where everything's. The car looked pretty good on the racetrack.
Got his book on the hood of the car, Pit Road Pets. He and his wife, Chrissy, have put together a nice project that shows a lot of people in the sport and their various pets. Raises money for some good animal causes. 47 cars here. Kyle Busch has been on a roll at Charlotte. We'll talk about that when we come back. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Practice from Charlotte is brought to you by Toyota. 12th race of this 2010 season and 57th Nationwide Series race. Paul Menard, you see, is the quickest at a 30.45. Followed by Brian Scott and Steve Wallace.
But as we went to go to break, you notice that Kyle Busch was being very patient, just waiting and biding his time. I guess these guys, they feel pretty confident that they've got a race car that they feel like it's close, and they're going to save as many laps on that race car as they can, I guess.
And, you know, given his record, that's not surprising. I think he's won 4 of the last 5 Nationwide Series races here.
Kind of likes the place, what do you think?
I'd say.
20. The sun really slowed things down, so that's pretty good, actually.
The cool thing, too, about somebody like Kyle Busch, and Jeff talked about experienced guys on this racetrack, he really knows what he wants his car to feel like, and he can give that feedback probably a little bit quicker than some of these other guys who now are just kind of shaking down, getting up to speed. Kyle and some of the more veteran guys can go right on the racetrack and find out, you know, in the first couple corners and really see if they like the car or not. And I think Bob can add. Bob?
Trouble right now for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 6th car. He's talking to Mike Kelly, his crew chief, and you see a Darlington or a Charlotte Motor Speedway stripe on the rear quarter panel on this car. They are actually fixing that right now, so he's already got into the wall a little bit. And right now, Ricky and Mike Kelly are talking about what the car is doing, because basically he went into the turn and the car just pushed right up and he kind of slapped that right rear quarter panel against the wall. Ricky seems to be a little bit confused as far as what the car is doing, and Mike said, okay, well, walk me through that corner. He said, well, when I let off the gas, the car really kind of pushed up the racetrack. It was almost as if the throttle didn't lift. So they checked the carburetor out a little bit, and the carburetor was a-okay as far as they're checking it out here in the garage area. Then he said, you know, actually it cut in okay, but then it really just shot up the racetrack. So it seemed maybe like it was a little bit tight. So right now, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. doesn't have a lot of laps on this racetrack. He's trying to figure out what went on and what happened with this yellow stripe on his race car.
Bob, good report. And Hermie, that brings up the fact to me that, you know, we saw Kyle Busch standing there in the garage. He's actually won 3 of the last 4 races here. I said 4 of 5. It's 3 of 4, but he has 5 total wins. He knows exactly what he wants, which is what you guys said. Ricky Stenhouse doesn't know. He has nothing to build off of.
Yeah, and that uncertainty of not knowing, as we see the 18 car right here on the racetrack, that uncertainty really slows you down as a driver. This is one of these racetracks that you've got to be confident and committed, Jeff Hammond, to go run that fast lap right off the truck.
Well, it is, but at the same time, for a rookie, you know, sometimes you got to be patient. But even when you're being patient, if you can't figure out what the car is doing, that really can throw the curve to not only the crew, but I think it can also get in the driver's mind as far as second guessing what he's doing versus what he's feeling. Again, Herman, you know yourself, you get off in there and get out of the throttle and tap those brakes the wrong way, it unloads the car. Yeah. And I think that's sometimes with rookies not knowing how the racetrack works, that's where I think they can make a mistake. And it sounds to me like that's where Ricky Stenhouse is at this moment. As we're watching Kyle Busch, that number 18 car, Steve, I was looking at some other notes. Can you believe that he's only 155 laps shy of catching the legendary Mark Martin when it comes to the Nationwide Series most laps led? And the fact that he's only 2 behind Kevin Harvick, who's been a 2-time champion in the series with, you know, 34 career wins. I mean, he is kind of like rewriting the record books every time he unloads at a nationwide race.
Yeah, Mark Martin has led 8,082 laps. Kyle could conceivably pass him if he does lead 155 laps or more here in this 200-lap event. Now, I had Russell Wenrich do some research. Mark set that mark. He set that lap lead mark in his 226th start. For Kyle Busch, he'll be making his 184th start.
Now, again, I think that maybe brings it in perspective how fast this kid is as far as a learner and how he likes to be out front. He's not happy if he can't lead a race, and he's going to do everything in his power to get out front and stay out front. Currently, he's third quickest after having 3 laps run on this racetrack.
Hermie, 8 top 3 finishes for Kyle Busch here in 13 starts. Top 3s.
Well, all of his stats speak for themselves, and you can say what you want to about how he handles things when he wins or doesn't win. The bottom line is he is a tremendous competitor, and he expects to run up front. And his first nationwide race here, he ran, really surprised a lot of people that, you know, okay, he accomplished a lot of things on some different kinds of racetracks. For him to come to this place and run like he did, I think really opened up a lot of eyes.
Right quick, I mean, when I think about the numbers he's putting up, it makes me start thinking about the legendary David Pearson. He did it in half the time that most everybody else did as far as wins and championships. He made it look easy. When he showed up at the racetrack, you had to chase him.
Hermie, before we go to break, does Kyle have a beef with Denny Hamlin from the All-Star race?
Oh, sure he does. And he's probably going to say that it's all well and good and all that, but you can bet that he wants to come back and win this race this weekend.
What I'm saying is, did he have a right to be mad?
Oh, no. In my opinion, no. I think Kyle feels like that Denny did wrong, but in my opinion, Denny Hamlin's leading the race. He can go where he wants to on the racetrack. And Kyle can decide where he wants to go. My opinion.
That's bad news right there, guys.
Whoops,
bad
it drives good.
News.
Right off the truck. It drives good. We'll be right back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Paul Menard has turned the quickest lap. You heard as we went to break, Kyle Busch said drives good. He is third quick. Busch has 5 laps of practice, Menard 7. 34 drivers have been on track. There are 47 here. So we take a look at Brad Keselowski in that number 22 Dodge, discount tire Dodge for Penske.
Steve, we said this time and time again, but this 22 group has really surprised me about how strong they have been with a new organization. I mean, because they put this other team together after announcing that Brad was coming over, and they've really done an outstanding job. And Brad's told me several times that they're very close to me getting this thing figured out. So they're leading the points and they ain't got to figure it out yet. That could be scary to the competition.
2 wins for Brad at Talladega and Richmond this year. Let's go to the garage at Matt Yoakum.
Steve, Kevin Harvick is climbing from the Miracle Whip Chevrolet. He and crew chief Ernie Cope talking things over. They're going to put the race car up on scales, bolting on a brand new set of sticker tires, also talking about maybe topping it off with some Sunoco race fuel. Harvick says the car a little loose on entry both into turns 3 and turn 4, but the car stellar on exit. And remember, Harvick has 12 nationwide wins on mile-and-a-half racetracks like we have here at Charlotte, but none at Charlotte. Hoping to change that on Saturdays. To Bob Dillner.
Well, Matt Yoakum, a new pilot inside the number 1 machine, as Steve Burns talked about a little while earlier, and that'd be Ryan Newman with the James Finch-owned car. Right now, they're trying to make some adjustments to make him more comfortable inside the cockpit of that race car. The race car is A-OK. In fact, shock travels and balance of the race car is pretty good. Ryan likes that. But right now, he's having some trouble with the venting on his helmet, so they're making some adjustments for driver comfortability inside that race car. He's going to go out for run number 2 here just in a second, but this team tells me that Ryan will run this race, and then they're going to go and just run races here and there. They're hoping that Ryan runs more. He's going to check his schedule, but they're definitely hoping to do about 6 to 8 more races this year with Ryan behind the wheel if he can do it.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Of course, James Buescher started the season in that car, and there have been reports that James Finch is trying to sell that operation.
A lot of. I mean, it's not a rumor. He's been openly said he'd like to go ahead and cut back, and James Finch has been a long-time supporter of not only the Nationwide Series but of the Cup Series, and it's kind of sad to see him thinking about getting out. But you know, tough times, and again, I think he's lost a little bit of the zing that he used to have as far as racing was concerned. We're now riding along with Clint Boyer going around this 1.5 mile Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's listen to him as he goes through in his 21 car. Hermie, tell me what's going on here as you come back to start finish line.
Well, he come through the dog leg here to start finish line, and what you want to do here, Jeff, is get way out against the wall right here.
Too tight, center off.
Like he's getting ready to come back into the racetrack, not completely happy with this race car. He's let off the gas, going to come back down pit road. But get back to James Finch for a second. Steve, I like the attitude that James is. When you want to try to sell something, he's got the, smart enough businessman to know if I'm going to sell it, the best way to get eyes on it is to have this car running up front. So a good move by them to put an experienced guy like Ryan Inman in that seat to get that car up front.
Clint Boyer headed to the garage in that 21 car.
Don't forget, he's on probation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He did a no-no at Dover.
He got mad at Denny Hamlin, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
24-year-old Brian Eichler has a couple of starts this year for Kyle Busch in the Camping World Truck Series. Hermie, a lot of guys are watching young Brian Eichler. He's in that 16 car for Roush Fenway Racing, which also has a great record here at Charlotte.
Yeah, and he did a great job in limited number of starts for Kyle Busch in the Camping World Truck Series, and now he's got a great opportunity with Roush Fenway here. And Jack is really trying to get those programs. You just don't expect his cars to be running, especially the 6 and the 16, and you expect the 99 to be running up front and winning more races as well. So they're trying to find the right combination of drivers and crew chiefs.
And Hermie, to your point, I saw a report that Eddie Pardue, who's been with that organization for a long time, is no longer with that 16 car. Ben Leslie is the interim crew chief.
Yeah, don't know what happened there, but I'm sure we're going to be able to get some answers on that because, again, Eddie has been there for, I think, well over 12 years or 14 years, that organization.
Back to Charlotte after this. Glad you're with us. Tomorrow, NASCAR Trackside celebrates Memorial Day weekend by heading to Uptown Charlotte. Greg Biffle, Brad Keselowski, and Richard Childress stop by the ultimate Friday night house party. That's NASCAR Trackside, 7 Eastern, only on Speed. Jeff, that's one of my most favorite track sides of the year.
It is.
Crowd uptown.
Going uptown. We're not allowed to take any saddlers uptown, though.
What? Oh, yeah, they get in trouble up there.
They get in trouble. They try to dive off the stage, and it don't work good.
Yeah, that was definitely an experiment gone bad that night when
Elliott tried to dive off the stage.
He thought he was back in college again, going to the hoop.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
No, he didn't. Take a look right there at Trevor Brain and this new 99 paint scheme they've got here. It's called outpetcare.com, and they told me just before we came on the air they have just recently signed this group to 18 races. So now Trevor Brain, this 99 car, fully funded for the remainder of 2010. He's got to be excited about that.
Well, that's good news. Paul Menard is the quickest. He's in the garage, and Matt has an update on the 98. Excuse me, Bob Dillner. Bob?
That's okay, Steve. Yeah, we're down here in the 98 Paul Menard's garage right now. You saw the cat in the hat just walk away, Jack Roush. But the interesting thing is here, you mentioned Paul Menard's fastest, and I walked up and I trying to peek at what they were doing underneath the hood. Saw them take off the carburetor, but they seem to be doing a lot more work. They actually just changed the intake manifold on this machine. So I asked the guys, hey, what's the problem, or is there a problem? They said, no, to tell you the truth, the intake manifold, nothing's going on. Everything's A-OK. Paul liked it. Obviously, he's quick. But at the same time, they had another intake manifold. Since he is quick with that current one that they had on the car, they wanted to try another one to see if it improves his performance. So, crew chief, for you, how many times have you done this during your career as far as taking care of changing an intake manifold to see if it increases the speed on the car during a practice session?
Well, honest with you, Bob, we used to do that quite a bit. If the driver was complaining and he could identify it, especially if you come over here with an engine combination that a lot of engine builders will do, they may have a couple of intake manifolds that they may want to try. And they're looking at trying to maybe move the torque curve around a little bit and acceleration as far as the engine itself is concerned. So, I've seen these guys do this many, many times, and the good thing about it, with these Ford engines, it's a lot easier to do than it used to be in the old days. It took a long time to do. Right now, you can change it pretty quickly. Bob?
At the same time, though, Jeff, you said you usually change it when the driver didn't like his current, power band or whatever. Paul Menard's on top of the speed chart, so I thought that was a little bit unusual. Very good for them for doing a little R&D work, but very surprising that they're doing this when they're on top of the speed chart.
That's a great time to do it, Bob, because you're not searching for speed. You've already found it. Now we can look at some other things, and it may be something strictly designed for fuel mileage. They may be wanting to play with that a little bit and say, okay, let's put this on We know we get good fuel mileage with it. And Paul, you go out and run and tell us what your feedback is from inside the car.
Yeah, I would agree that with Paul Menard being at the top of the speed chart, this is probably not something that Paul was complaining about his engine. This was something they had from the engine shop planned ahead of time that says, okay, let's go run this and let's put another intake on this and try it to see if we can pick up a little bit of speed, whether it be a torque curve or a little more top end or whatever. We can A/B it and learn something. You can learn stuff on the engine dyno all day, but the drivability on the racetrack is really what matters. Limited opportunities to find that out.
Hermie, as we watch Michael McDowell in the 81, where is the premium for speed here at Charlotte Motor Speedway? Straightaway speed, getting off the corner. Where, as a driver, where do you want to feel that power the most?
I mean, I don't care where you go. You got to get through the middle of these corners and get back to the throttle. You know, you probably don't, in qualifying, probably won't even come all the way completely out of the throttle. So all of your speed, I mean, we talk about straightaways and horsepower and all that, but if you're not able to get through the middle of these corners and have that throttle on the floorboard using it all, you're not going to be fast.
Simple, logical, always the way it is. You make your time up from the center of the corner off. You try to make it up going in, Steve. All of a sudden, then you start bumping into basically that theory of you can't overcome the center of the corner. You can't, because you're carrying too much speed through that part right there. You just want the laws of physics cannot be denied when you get through the center of the corner.
27 minutes into a 1 hour, 20-minute practice for the Nationwide Series teams. Paul Menard the quickest. Tomorrow, the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series returns to speed. Don't miss live coverage of the Outlaws Showdown from Charlotte tomorrow night at 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
Did I hear it right? Are you going to run an outlaw car over there tomorrow night?
I haven't heard anything about it.
You hadn't?
I'd love to, though.
Would you really?
Yes, sir.
You ever done much dirt racing?
Just in go-karts. Never drove any kind of race car or stock car on dirt, but man, it looks like it's a lot of fun.
I like to challenge you in a match racing.
I ain't scared.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, yep.
I've seen you drive.
I've seen you drive.
Oh, that's why I ain't scared.
Ricky Stenhouse back on track. Let's go back to the garage and Bob Dillner.
And we're in the garage area right now with Trevor Bayne. You pulled your car in, and then all of a sudden I see people grinding underneath. I see the welder out. What's going on, Trevor?
Well, the car's really fast. We're just hitting the track into turn one over the bumps, you know. This is the same car we ran in Texas, and we had the same problem. And we moved the chassis, thought we fixed it, but this thing's just traveling too good. So we're going to have to do something, whether it's cut off the chassis or just change the front spring package. I'm so really impressed with how fast it is so far. Maybe this out pet care car is going to be good luck for us, man, because we can sure use some of that.
Certainly a little good luck needed for Trevor Bayne here, but right now, bad luck in this practice. They're going to have some work to do, Matt Yoakum.
And down the garage a little further there, Bob, we're catching up on the 20 car, Joey Logano, currently 7th on the board. He's turned in 9 laps. He says the car, good. And the initial turn into turn 3 is okay, but then it gets progressively tighter and tighter the more laps he runs on this 20 machine. So they're talking about what changes right now on the radio to make before he goes out and makes another run. And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that he turned 20 about 3 days ago in the month of May, huge for birthdays. I think there's a 28-year-old broadcaster who has been inducted into the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. We call him Dr. Dirt, Dick Bergeron. That's right, Steve. It's the month of May. It's a birthday for the Bergie.
Matt, I will not comment on Dick Bergeron's birthday, but I'm like you. I'm just thrilled we don't have to call him a teenager anymore. Joey Logano.
Exactly.
Hey, do you know what we're going to do tomorrow, Dick Bergeron and myself?
No, what are you going to do?
We're going to go jump out of an airplane.
You know what? Tony Stewart and I talked about that after the race at Dover, and I told him I was going to commit to do it. I can't do it, though, Friday, because my son has a program at school, a year-end program, but I told Tony if I would do it.
I'm with you. Come on. I'd love to go see you do it, but tomorrow we're going to take Dr. Dick, and we're going to go down and jump with the Golden Knights, and that's going to be a great little birthday present for him. And I'm also going to take my daughter with me. She's going to come and experience her first time of jumping out of an airplane.
I asked Tony if he was scared, and he said, yeah, I was scared, but after you get done with the briefing, he said, you know, you're with the Golden Knights, and he said it's all concentration.
Look, you get focused. You really get focused, because you know you got things you got to do. I'm talking about Paul Menard just went out and tried that new intake manifold. Doesn't seem to be quite as good as the previous lap, but again, the way this racetrack changes, the way tires drop off, he wasn't way out much, only off maybe about a 10th.
Yeah, it's going to be more of a driver feedback thing than a stopwatch thing, because another cycle of the tires, the track's a little bit warmer, not quite as much grip, they'll be relying on Paul Menard to tell them, could you feel a difference with this new combination? Do you like it better?
I will. I can just turn the front tires. I can just turn the steering wheel all the way to the left, and it's just real high frequency chatter. The tires bouncing off the pavement.
Carl Edwards talking about chatter, and also that gets to Trevor Bain's point. Hermie, I wanted to ask you about, he was talking about travel. That's the, the car going up and down, and how do you fix that?
Well, you're going to have to do one of two things. You have to raise the front of that car up a little bit, take some rounds out of the front and raise it up, or grind out some of that. Usually it's a part of the frame or the chassis. It could be, sway bar arms. It could be, you get down close to that cross member and oil pans and those kind of things. But you want to travel that front, Steve, as much as you possibly can, because the lower you get the front of that car, the more downforce you got. And if the front is down, Jeff, that means the back is up. That's the best of both worlds, but you cannot be dragging the racetrack.
No, you're exactly right. You want to get that optimum aero platform if at all possible, Steve, and getting that right attitude is very important. But I think what they're trying to do, they like the springs that are in the car, so they're going to try to raise the stuff that's hitting, get it off the racetrack so the car itself can stay with those front springs. I must like them quite a bit, and continue to watch Carl Edwards. He may not like his race car, but he's running some laps here, trying to get, I guess, an idea of where they are. He's 5th quickest right now. He's run 6 laps so far in this practice session. And Steve, what I'm hearing him say, it could be indicative of a camber gain situation, how the car, once it travels, when the angle of the camber gets set, maybe he's not quite where he needs to be, but they're trying to maybe stay off the sidewalls.
Also notice he moved up about a half a lane to a lane right there. It's hard to believe that Carl Edwards has Ford's last NASCAR win of the 3 Series, Phoenix, last November.
It's been a dry spell for the Blue Oval, let's put it that way. But I know that in talking to Jack Roush and several of those teams, they're working to try to remedy that as we watch this team right here trying to remedy that bottoming out problem.
A lot of NASCAR racing for you here on Speed at 3:30 Sprint Cup practice. Jeff and Hermie and I will be back at 5 for nationwide final practice. NASCAR Live Sprint Cup qualifying at 7. And in case you missed it, Jeff and I were honored to be a part of the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction. Make sure you catch that later tonight. And
Steve, I've done a lot of cool things in my 30-plus years being around NASCAR, but that was right at the top of the list.
Yeah, it was quite a day. A big day for the sport, big day for Charlotte. And it was a lot of emotions, a lot of different things to sink your teeth into that Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I thought I was going to fall out whenever Dale Earnhardt Jr. was talking about his father and how, meeting the Intimidator over in Japan for the first time. And he said, man, next thing I knew, I was running from him like a kid with an F on his report card.
He said he lifted me up in turn 4 and drove me all the way down the straightaway.
Exactly right.
There's a lot of cool moments with that. The Dale Earnhardt, part, the Kyle Petty, Richard Petty, part, Junior Johnson, what a great job his son did right there with all that. I mean, just a great, when you see all the families and, the next generations and all those, people involved in one spot, it really starts to sink in how important all this is.
So many legends out there in that audience, from Bud Moore to
David Pearson was there.
Cotton Owens. I mean, there was just so many people there that have made the sport what it is today.
I got to tell you a funny story, Steve. Went early this week over here to Concord Mills, did an appearance for Wendy Venturini with the Women's Auxiliary of Motorsports. They had a fundraiser, raising some money for Larry Pearson, trying to help, with some of his bills and medical expenses from the crash at Bristol. So anyway, Phil Parsons and I get done walking out of the mall, and David Pearson walks up. We start exchanging pleasantries, and his kid's with him. He says, hey, I'm David Pearson, Larry's son.
Yeah.
I said, nice to meet you. So first thing out of his mouth, what'd you think about Homestead 1995?
With Larry Pearson,
when Larry
jacked you and Kenny Wallace up on the last lap.
Jacked us up on the last lap. All 3 of us crashed.
What was funny is Dale Jarrett won that race. Jeff, he was 4th going down the backstretch, a long way behind those 3. And I was walking through the garage with Pearson, and he goes, how close was Dale Jarrett to me? I said, don't even. Don't even.
A half a lap?
He was a half a straight away.
But anyway, first time I've met Larry's son. Nice kid, he says.
Yeah.
What do you think about Homestead 1995? And all I said was, I've had better days. And I walked on to the truck.
Yep.
It'd be like somebody walking up to Kyle Busch and asking him about the All-Star race, wouldn't it? Not really what you consider one of your better memories, right? On board with the driver of the 18 car.
Matt, what's going on with Kyle Busch? We heard him earlier say it's driving good.
Well, Steve, it seems like, and you touched on it earlier, anytime Kyle Busch comes to the Charlotte Motor Speedway, he finds nothing but success, and really his stats are impressive. Ranked second to Mark Martin and wins one more this weekend. He'll tie Mark Martin. The way the car's reacting now, it looks good. He's turned 16 laps. He said that the last 3 laps before he went back out, I tried driving him to turn 1 a little deeper, and it just washed up the racetrack. So at this point, it's the part of the driver where he's trying to get a little more out of the race car. It's a very good race car right now. They changed the right front spring to try to improve that 18 machine.
Thanks, Matt. And Hermie, he's not moving his hands a lot, and that's usually the telltale sign. If he's swatting bees in there, the car's not handling, but his hands look comfortable. Yeah,
it does look a little bit snug. You can see when you go down in the corner here, Steve, he turns the wheel to the left. You can see his right hand. He's not putting it back to the right real quick, which means the car's a little bit on the snug side. And he'll come in and probably want to free that car back up a little bit, especially when you hear him say he really tried to stick it over in the corner, Jeff, and the car washed up the racetrack.
Well, he's got a pretty good looking ride right there. If they're that close and just kind of fine tune between 1 or 2 little minor adjustments like that, they've got themselves a race car they want to contend with, which really doesn't surprise me at all. Again, take a look here at the 22 car, Brad Keselowski in that discount tire special, our point leader currently. Now, he's not got much of a lead, only got 11 points now, but any kind of lead's better than none at all. I think the cool thing is the guys that are chasing him, and one of them, the fact he won't declare what he's going to do, and that being Kevin Harvick. There's a lot of people guessing right now that Kevin, now leading the Sprint Cup Series points and being this close in the nationwide situation. You take a look here at Kevin, he's third, 64 points behind. Then he may decide to go ahead and make a run for that championship. Kyle's already said he's not going to, but that would give him the opportunity to be the first guy to ever win both the Sprint Cup point championship and the nationwide championship in the same year.
You know, Kyle Busch was on Race Hub last week, and I asked him about not running the nationwide or for the nationwide championship, and he said, well, that was a Joe Gibbs decision. I mean, he wants to do it. He really wants to run for both.
And I could believe it, but I think what Joe was trying to tell him, you've already accomplished that. Let's focus in and get you, go for the big carrot right now.
Yeah.
And I think, again, you have to kind of like weigh it out. In Kevin's situation, he's already won 2 nationwide championships before. He would be the first guy if he happened to go run all the races and win it. He'd be the only guy to ever win 3.
Well, and the schedule's about to get complicated when you
big time
nationwide series runs standalone events.
Better fire up fuel up the Learjets, they like to say.
Jet. Well, Paul Menard still the fastest, 43 minutes into a 1 hour 20-minute practice. Stay with us here on Speed. Joey Logano in the garage area. He's 7th fastest overall in the 20 car. Paul Menard still with the quickest lap. Chad McCumbee in the 09 car. GPSstore.com, the sponsor on the hood.
Yeah, that killed it, didn't it?
McCumbee has 5 starts here at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Sprint Cup Series and Camping World Truck Series, but this will be his first nationwide series race. Back to the garage and Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, I did a little investigating on the 16 team for Brian Eichler making a start with Roush Fenway Racing here. And what happened during the week, Eddie Pardue no longer the crew chief here. Ben Leslie's the crew chief this weekend here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And I walked over and I talked to Jack Roush and I said, what happened with Eddie Pardue? Because Eddie's been with Roush Fenway Racing for quite some time, and Jack simply said no comment. So I figured there was a little bit more to this story. Well, I figured out that Eddie Pardue is no longer with Roush Fenway Racing. He's been let go. This change only came yesterday. So a very tough transition for young Brian Eichler inside behind the wheel of this machine here this weekend, the first time for Roush Fenway Racing, trying to make a transition when he doesn't even have the crew chief that has been with this team. Now, as far as Ben Leslie, he's been a long-time crew chief in the Cup and the Nationwide Garage. I am told that's a crew chief position as an interim basis. So a lot going on with the 16 team and a lot of emotion as well, guys.
Yeah, Bob, I just found out about it this morning. In fact, on the entry list, it still says Eddie Pardue.
And one thing we've learned through the years is Jack Roush is not afraid to make major changes. And he feel like the equipment is there. He just, you know, trying to find the right combination of driver and crew chief. But it is a difficult situation when you've got a very young driver like Brian Eichler, as you see Ben Leslie sitting up on top of the truck calling the shots. But very difficult for a crew chief to come in one day with 1 day's notice, especially with a driver with not a lot of experience, Jeff.
Well, a good thing about Ben Leslie, Ben's been around with Jack's organization for quite a while. He worked for Ford also as an engineer and an executive in different positions. And as anybody over there probably...
We'll start about 4 or 5 laps on this one, and we'll hit pit road hard. Brian, bogey.
That's Ben talking to his driver right there, getting him acclimated to coming on the pit road, make him hustle along through there and get used to coming on the pit road here. But what I'm saying is, unless he goes to somebody like a Jimmy Finnick and puts him in there in an interim position, a great choice there. He's got enough experience. He knows how to deal with young drivers, and it will be fine, because Jack will basically be there also kind of hovering around along with the engineers, and Brian will do just fine in that situation.
That's pretty cool audio right there from Ben Leslie, because a lot of fans don't think about a lot what all is involved with a young driver, not only getting around the racetrack but also practicing getting on pit road. A lot of stuff going on.
And one other thing right quick, Jack Roush has got to do something with this program, because he just got one car back in the top 30, his 28th, which is a 16 car. His other car, Stenhouse, is still outside the top 30, so they've got to qualify. So he needs a lot of improvements in the Nationwide Series with all of his teams.
Ryan Newman, 6th overall. We go back to the garage, and Matt.
Steve, 2 fast cars on the JGR stable, Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. So you had a little debrief with your teammate comparing your car to his. What'd you say? What did he say?
Our cars are driving similar, I think. I think we're both kind of fighting the same problem as landing in the one. And it's something kind of I struggled with the last time I ran here, and it basically drives exactly the same. So we haven't figured out that problem yet, but I got confidence in the guys who work with Toyota. They'll figure it out. We're gonna try some new front spring stuff and then see if we can fix it. But nothing else. I don't think we're that far off, but I feel like there's definitely some room to be gained. I don't think our cars are handling quite right yet. So you know, if we can get it decent right now, it's gonna be a lot better when we race here.
All right, thanks, Joey.
Cool, thanks.
All right, thank you, Matt. 50 minutes into this practice, Joey Logano and Kyle Busch talk about speed. Glad you're with us. Sunday, NASCAR race day cruises into Charlotte, where Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, and All-Star race winner Kurt Busch join the team live. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot, live from Charlotte, Sunday, 3 Eastern, only on Speed. Well, Brian Scott is second quick to Paul Menard, and that's where Bob Dillner is.
Second quick to Paul Menard, but not very happy with his race car, to tell you the truth. They're actually trying to work on some radio problems with their communication and so forth. Something going on with the radios on this machine, but also something going on with the race car. I poked my head into Brian Scott's cockpit and I said, what's going on? He said, you know what? He says, we cut one good lap, but it just does not feel right. The balance of the race car is way off. It feels like I'm losing the front end of this car in the middle of the corner. So that's what they're trying to work on with this car right now. They got it jacked back up and trying to figure out exactly what changes they should make on the front end of this machine. So right now, Brian Scott fast, but not exactly happy with the race car.
And I tell you, one thing I noticed that's a testament to this racetrack, the 98 of Paul Menard is P1, the 11 car of Brian Scott is P2. If you remember back to the beginning of practice, they were the first 2 cars on the racetrack when this practice session began. So it tells me that this racetrack, as it gets warmer, is deteriorating as far as grip and speed. So this guy's got a good lap down, but as you heard Bob Dillner say, Brian Scott worried about the balance of his car over the long haul.
Yeah, and he's coming off his best finish of the season so far at Dover. He finished 9th in that 11 cars. We'll take a look at his teammate here. This is Jason Leffler in the 10 this week with Trip Bruce is new crew chief over there. Scott Zimpardelli is no longer with this organization. But I think it's a very good point you bring out there, Hermie, that, you know, that sometimes that fast lap can be very deceiving. I'm really looking more at this 5-lap consecutive deal. And Kyle Busch and Ryan Newman and Carl Edwards, and along with Brad Keselowski, that's the first 4 guys are leading that 5-lap average. So you got to believe that's the guys you got to worry about.
On board with Trevor Bayne.
Yeah, Steve, let's watch as he goes down into turn 1 here. You hear it kind of like blah, 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 blah. There's a bump going into 1 that a lot of guys, and it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, but this is one of the trickier parts or the characteristics of this racetrack. Everybody talks about the bump into 1, and also there used to be like little chatter bumps down here in the middle of 3 and 4 at one time because of the way the sun beats on the racetrack. You lose a lot of grip, and he lost some grip. He had to get completely out of the throttle in that 99 car, Trevor Bayne.
He went down in turn 3, headed to the white line, and the car just slid the nose across the middle of 3 and 4, losing a lot of speed. And he's going to try it again, or maybe he may come in. It looks like to me he needs to come work on that car a little bit.
Well, you're going to say that out again. He was talking. Well, Trevor in the middle down there, man. Don't be so aggressive on your entry, because once you get to the bottom, it's just taking off on you.
Good call there, Hermie. Exactly what happened.
Brett Griffin, who also spots my brother, Elliott Sadler, giving him some good examples. And you talked about it. Don't overdrive the corner. Make your speed up from the middle of the corner onto the straightaway and make the straightaway longer, Jeff.
That's exactly right.
Hear him out of the gas right there and get a lot of valuable experience. We'll be back to the Charlotte Motor Speedway 55 minutes into this nationwide practice. On Monday night, get your NASCAR fix with NASCAR Race Hub. Get the latest NASCAR news and information from the drivers and crew chiefs when they stop by the hub to hang out and talk racing. NASCAR Race Hub presented by Hooters, Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, and it's only on Speed. Back to the garage and Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, it is hot and sweaty down here in the garage area at the Charlotte Motor Speedway today. Greg Biffle, you are 13th quick. How is the heat playing havoc with this practice session?
Well, it certainly makes the track, pretty hot and slick, and you want the same conditions that the race is going to be under. And it looks like Saturday, it's going to be a lot cooler, maybe a little bit of moisture. So, we're probably going to see a lot different track condition than we're seeing right now. So that's definitely playing a little bit of a part of this.
I know you've been in a big sponsorship search with this number 27 car. How many more races for this team right now, Biff?
Well, this is our final race with the in the Redman Ford Fusion. We're hoping to find some sponsors to run some more events throughout the rest of the season. We'd like to run a half a dozen more. So if anybody's looking for a good opportunity, I think this Baker Curb group in this 27 car would be a good deal. I think our next available race is Loudon, New Hampshire. We're looking to try and secure something to take this car to Loudon.
I tell you what, they would certainly be missed because Greg Biffle has done a great job in behind the wheel of the 27 machine this year.
And Bob, just to update that situation as we watch Paul Menard, by about the middle of June, I don't remember the exact date, but there's legislation that states that teams can no longer use any tobacco companies in sports marketing efforts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I mean, that's a great point. It's not about performance.
No.
With this race team, obviously, every time Greg Biffle gets in any Nationwide Series car, including this Baker Curb car, he is a threat to win. So if anybody's out there, you're looking for a car to get on with a good experienced driver, for a couple races, a great opportunity there with the 27 car.
Yeah, I mean, they're currently 8th in the points. So, I mean, they've been performing really well so far this year, and just need a little help to keep it going.
Jamie McMurray talking to the Biff. McMurray driving that 88 car for Dale Earnhardt Jr. McMurray 12th overall as we watch Kevin Harvick just 25th.
During the break, we were checking with our sources here, and they just showed us about Kevin Harvick. Maybe now he's not going to run all the races. What did Russell hand you?
It looks like Ron Hornaday is going to drive the 33 car at Road America and O'Reilly Raceway Park. Mike Bliss will drive that 33 at Nashville, Kentucky, and Gateway. So apparently Kevin Harvick will not run for the championship in that 33 car.
As the driver.
Correct, as the driver.
That doesn't mean the 33 won't show up at all the races, and it doesn't mean they didn't have an opportunity to win the Owners' Championship.
By the way, to that point, also Greg Biffle will not drive that 27 in the next couple races, but Scott Wimmer will, as we watch Clint Boyer in the 21. Also heard that Casey Mears was supposed to drive that 21 car in a few races, but now that he's in the 83 Red Bull Sprint Cup Series car, I'm curious how that's going to affect.
Well, if you don't think right now, because of what happened at the 83 car along with this 21 car, there's got to be a lot of owners that are getting worn out by drivers who want to drive for them, like Richard Childress and Jay Fry over there at the Red Bull team. They've got to be getting worn out by guys like Casey Mears and other qualified drivers that would love to be able to get in these really good race cars and show them what can be done. Due to the fact that Brian Vickers and his situation. Got a chance to see Brian this past Monday at Rick Hendrick's golf tournament, and he looks great. Very much disappointed about the fact he's having to relinquish his ride, but I really believe, Steve, that he's going to maximize his opportunity to learn everything he can being around this team and being around the racetrack, and he's going to take a different role with Red Bull. But I think when he does make it back to the race car, I think it's going to make him a better race car driver.
We've got about 20 minutes left in this practice for the Nationwide Series teams at Charlotte. For 5 years, Tony Stewart has invited championship caliber drivers like Clint Boyer and friends to his famed Eldora Speedway for an all-star charity dirt late model race. This year, Speed will give you an exclusive countdown pre-race special, which will look at preparations for the Prelude, practice session coverage, and much, much more. Catch the Prelude to the Dream Countdown Show Wednesday, June 9th at 6 Eastern and only on Speed.
Had you an opportunity to go run a dirt race, Mr. Sadler?
Tell you what, they talk about charity events, but when those guys drop the green flag at that deal right there, they're after it.
They are.
I mean, a lot of these guys are really, that's what you get into when you do that. Some of the guys, like I would do, is go hop in somebody else's car for a couple of days. And a lot of these guys have got their own dirt teams, their own cars.
They're testing already.
Testing all the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
And this year, new wrinkle, they're going to have teams.
I like the new wrinkle, but the thing is, your brother Elliott went for, I think, for the first one.
Yeah.
And he ain't been back.
He ain't been back. Well, Elliott knows he's got a whole lot better chance to get him on the golf course than he does on a dirt track.
And that's
okay.
a fact.
All right. Just check it.
You got to be smart about it.
Now, y'all mentioned testing as we're right now watching Kevin LePage in the 56 car. I'm said the guys had a weekend off here in the Nationwide Series. They didn't race, but they were still busy. They were down in Daytona testing the new version of the Nationwide car that will debut at Daytona coming up in July. And we don't want to lose sight of the fact that it will also race at Michigan and at Richmond, and it'll be back here in the fall. So this will be the last race for this current version of car here at Charlotte in the Nationwide Series.
What sort of feedback did you hear from any of the drivers, Jeff?
The guys who have been running the Sprint Cup version of this were pretty impressed. The guys who are just getting a little taste of that different feel, they got to go back to the gym.
Nervous and jerky.
Yeah, they got to have to go back to the gym. They're going to drive a little bit more aggressively, keep up on the wheel if they want to get this new version, I think, introduced. It's totally different than what they're used to feeling. So I think we're going to be going through a pretty steep learning curve once we get past July 4th in Daytona. I think the guys are going to have their hands full.
Greg Biffle, you just saw him in the 27 car, one of 16 drivers doing double duty here this weekend. The Nationwide Series teams race at 2:30 on Saturday.
See that 27 car bottoming out? That's not making Greg Biffle happy. I can promise you that. He'll be in there like Trevor Bain getting those guys to work on that thing. 46
guys have been on track of the 47. Looks like Danny O'Quinn, the only one not to get out thus far.
He'll save all his tires at that 5 o'clock practice.
Joe Nemechek looking for sponsorship on his number 87, the 92 Nationwide Series champion.
You know, it's amazing that he is the last owner driver to win the Nationwide Championship like that. I mean, that's the reason why we were talking about Kevin Harvick.
It's dragging, man.
There again, he's bottoming out also. But he would have been the last guy to accomplish that if Kevin would have stuck with it and been able to accomplish it this year. It would have been quite a dry spell for owner driver.
Nemechek with 27 starts here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. 1 win, 1 pole. A lot of guys watching this guy in the 7 car, Steve Arpin, 26 years old from Ontario, Canada. trying to make his fifth, or will make his fifth nationwide series start. Has 6 ARCA starts this year for Venturini Motorsports with 2 wins. Got those wins at Salem and Texas. Bob?
Steve Wallace right now is 4th quick, but much like Brian Scott, he's actually not happy with his race car, and that lap was his first lap on the racetrack. So right now they're doing a lot of stuff to this race car right now because Steven doesn't like how the front end feels in the center of the corner. It just kind of just shoves up the racetrack. So they actually just changed the left front shock on the car and the left rear spring because he wants the car to cut just a little bit better in the center of the corner. So a lot of these guys kind of saying the same thing, losing the front end in the center of the corner, and a lot of them saying one other thing, guys, and that's the #1 car, Ryan Newman, maybe the best car in the garage area.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise at all, Bob. And take another look at Steve Arpin. Interesting background for this guy. He won 7 world championships racing snowmobiles on ice ovals by the age of 18. So I'm thinking if you can drive on ice, maybe you can make it here. But seriously, he has impressed a lot of people.
He has, and I think that, you know, he's got a future here in the sport. But again, I think the only way you're ever going to be able to measure his true abilities is we got to get him in there and leave him there long enough so that he can start having some communication and get up a dialogue going. I mean, in the car one week, working with a guy like Tony Uri Jr. is going to be great for him. But if he can stay with this guy and run 8, 10 races in a row, that's when you're really going to start seeing some huge improvement, not only for the crew chief, but also for the driver.
Arpin drove a Silver Crown car for Carl Edwards a couple years ago. See Pops, Tony Uri Sr. and Jamie McMurray looking at the timing and scoring monitor.
Thought they were watching Mickey Mouse.
No. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Nationwide Series practice from Charlotte is brought to you by Mahindra. Visit your local dealer to test drive a Mahindra tractor today. We got about 8 minutes left in this nationwide practice, the first of 2 today here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Brendan Gaughan, 34-year-old out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Got a different paint scheme this week.
I was down there trying to get us a deal. He's got Ab Circle, that new way to lose weight and tone up your midsection. I told him, I said, you know, we'd be glad to do a little endorsement deal if you get one for me and old Steve and Hermie up here. You know, we'll come down and do a little R&R and sign a few autographs for you and knock a few pounds off. Get back my boyish figure.
The Ab Circle.
Yep, Ab Circle Pro. He told me the thing was supposed to be more pink. I'm not too sure they quite accomplished that. But he said, you know what, Jeff? He said, I'm not afraid to wear pink. Real men wear pink.
Brendan's not afraid of anything.
I wouldn't say that. You don't know his mama. Especially you start saying Brenny. But he's feeling pretty pumped up right now. He feels like he and Brad Parrott have made some headway here recently, and they're getting a lot better with his 62 car. Bobby, what's going on down there in the garage area?
Well, actually, guys, want to talk about Ricky Stenhouse out on the racetrack right now. They finally figured out the problem here, guys, and it had to do with the secondary throttle shaft, actually, on that race car, on the carburetor. Basically, what was happening, and it took them nearly an hour's worth of practice time to figure out why the car was shooting up the racetrack. When Ricky would pull out of the throttle really hard, just let it go, the throttle was a-okay, but when he would gradually come out of the throttle, it would stick and lurch the car forward. Well, the engine man finally found the problem on that carburetor. They have fixed it. Now Ricky is very happy. You see Mike Kelly, the crew chief, on top of the box there. Now they can finally focus on that car and the handling of it. They lost a lot of valuable time.
Run maybe one more here.
A lot of times at this racetrack to run, especially with these nationwide cars, no more power than they have, you don't want to, when you go down the straightaway, you don't want to get all the way out of the throttle at one time. You'll want to ease out of that throttle, just half, three-quarter throttle, maybe trail brake a little bit. And what they were saying, what was happening, the secondary, you have a primary and a secondary, you know, pumpers on the carburetor, and that it was just not slowing it. He wasn't slowing down quick enough getting in the corner. So, but he's doing the right thing, trying to ease out of the throttle and not get out of it at one time, because that'll give you a loose sensation as well if you can't get that corrected.
mess with your head too, won't it?
Absolutely.
Saw Jamie McMurray and Tony Uri Sr. Pops talking a little while ago, but now Jamie back out onto the racetrack. 13th overall.
Jamie's done a nice job in this car too. They needed somebody to get in this 88 car, kind of stabilize the whole team, and how things have turned for Jamie McMurray. Last year this time there was, where's he going to go? He's going to be out at Roush Fenway. Can he get the job done? Whatever. He lands at Earnhardt Ganassi, wins the Daytona 500, gets in this 88 car, and all of a sudden he's back on the rise again and doing a great job with both cars.
He must have gone to that driving school.
Yeah, he went back to driving school again.
Exactly right. But you know, when you talk about that 88 car now in the last 4 nationwide races, they are scored the second most points of anybody out there in the series. So I mean, they're doing a really great job working here. You talk about the crew chief, there's Tony Uri Sr., Pops, we like to call him, working with Jamie McMurray. I think these guys make magic together, and they've been scoring a lot of points, getting that 88 car up in the top 10 in points. So they've done a really good job here lately.
Hermie, I've heard a lot of drivers joke about that driving school.
Oh, yeah.
And just for the record, there really isn't one. That's just kind of an inside joke amongst you drivers.
It is, but you know, it takes a whole combination. It takes every part and piece, from the driver to the team to the crew chief. You know, confidence and momentum can mean a whole lot as well. You know, Jamie McMurray wins that Daytona 500. That's a tremendous boost to his confidence, regardless of what kind of racetrack he goes to. So a lot, you know, you got to give him credit for persevering and finding his way back into a competitive situation. So he put in the time, and right now he's got a lot of good things going on.
Yeah, and he came about 12 inches and winning Talladega, making it basically 3 restrictor plate races in a row.
He's a good racer. I mean, obviously the restrictor plate stuff, he's scoring well there. Really quietly, he's one of the best road course races we've got, and he won his first race here at Charlotte, so he can get the job done at all different kind of racetracks.
Closing minutes of NASCAR Nationwide Series practice from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Stay with us. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this. Guys, Paul Menard has, as Hermie pointed out, put that lap up very early in his practice and has not been supplanted. So it's Paul Menard, Brian Scott, Kyle Busch, Stephen Wallace, and Carl Edwards.
Just watching these guys go around the racetrack, a lot like last week, we're seeing everybody start to go closer and closer, working this groove from the bottom up to that top. A lot of guys like Kevin Harvick, noticing that 33 up there close to the edge of the wall. So it looks to me that the Nationwide Series are going to be just like the Sprint Cup All-Stars from a week ago. And that top groove is going to be the fast groove around here come race day.
There you go, bud. You're gaining on it.
Justin Allgaier in the 12 car, 18th overall. Allgaier 5th in points coming into the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's had a great year, got a win at Bristol.
Made it really tight mid-corner out. 10-4. Just let him go here, inside.
Ooh. A little close right there. Couldn't see it from the onboard, but getting a little pressure put on him by Stephen Wallace at 66 car. I'm talking about Justin Allgaier.
Allgaier, just 23 years old. Hermie, he's been pretty impressive this year.
It really has. On the racetrack and off the racetrack. Did a great job at Bristol to close out and get that victory, and looks like to be one of the guys that's got a great future in this sport. And he's certainly with a team and Roger Penske in an organization that can get him the kind of equipment that he needs to further his career. So he's in a great situation.
Speaking of that, we're seeing a lot. Joey Logano, we know how good he is. But prior to that, now 11 car, Brian Scott. There's another diamond in the rough, guys, leading the rookie of the year points right now. But he's come out of the Camping World Truck Series and looking very good here as we see the red and black being displayed. And before we go off there, I want to tell you something real quick. During the break, I always like to check, see if Daryl's been texting me or not. Well, Brendan's Gon's mom, Paula, was listening along with her sister, and they were just dying out laughing when I called him Brenny on the air just a minute ago. Really appreciate them watching.
So practice is over. Paul Menard is the quickest. Stay with us here on Speed. Still a lot to come. It'll be culminated with Sprint Cup Series qualifying later tonight. And don't forget the re-air of the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Paul Menard, the quickest, will step aside. After a break, John Roberts will update you on all the activities here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Stay with us.